All right, we are going to continue today with 1.7 vocabulary, which is all about circles. Now, we have quite a bit of vocabulary words to go through. And actually, this is just the beginning of the circle talk because we have an entire chapter dedicated to just circles. So, this is just the beginning. These words will come back to haunt us later. I think it's chapter 6 that's all about circles. Okay, so keep your vocabulary notes close by for the year. Now, first vocabulary word, what do you think is going to be? Of course, it's circle. Okay, now some of you who are thinking about the circle definition, you're probably just thinking like it's a rounded shape. Okay, but no, it's obviously a little more complicated than that because mathematicians are mean. And here is the definition: the set of all points in a plane at a given distance from a given point. So, what does that mean? Okay, it is the set of all points in a plane. So our circle here is a plane. Okay, and we have from a given distance, which would mean our radius would be our given distance. So all these points, okay, from a given point, which would be our center. Okay, so I want you to think about like a radar, like if you're thinking about like maybe you're on a boat or like in a plane or something, like radar to detect if something's close, okay, how it kind of like goes around, it like goes around in a circle like that, okay, that's kind of what this definition means, okay, is the set of all the points that this radius, okay, can loop around, okay, so the set of all these points, okay, in a plane at a given distance from a given point. Okay, if you want a picture better than that, even though that was pretty good, there you go. Okay, at any point, if I'm going too fast, okay, because we have a lot to get through, please pause the video. A radius. Radius is a segment from the center of the circle to the outer edge of the circle. Okay, so easy peasy from the center, okay, to the edge. Okay, that is a radius. Commonly confused with the diameter that goes through the center of the point that we will get to in a minute. The center of a circle. Well, the center of a circle is a coplanar point from which all points of the circle are the same distance away from. Okay, so center of the circle, boom, right there. If you want to draw a circle so you know what the center is, do it. Okay, next we have chord. Okay, a chord is a line segment. That is key. Okay, because we are going to talk about lines here too in a little bit. So it's a line segment, which means it stops, whose endpoints lie on the circle. That should be lie, not line. Okay, so a chord here. Okay, typically chords do not go through the center of the circle. Typically you will see chords like this. Okay, maybe a chord like this. Notice that they stop on the edge. Now, thinking in your head, why did I say that a chord doesn't go through the center of a circle? What might that be if a chord did go through the center of a circle and the endpoints were still on the edge? Okay, well, hopefully you guessed it, because if you notice, I kind of skipped it after radius. It is a diameter. A diameter is the longest chord in a circle. Okay, it goes through the center of the circle. Okay, so here, diameter, center of the circle. Okay, it is the biggest chord you can get in a circle. Now a tangent. Okay, I had you underline segment before. A tangent is a line, so that means it continues on, that intersects the circle at only one point. Okay, when I show you the picture, you're going to be like, well, no, that looks like multiple points. Nope, tangent line only hits it at one singular point. So here is my tangent line. It's going on forever and ever, and it crosses right here at 1 point. Okay, it barely touches the edge of the circle. Now, what do you think we call that point that it crosses? Hopefully you guessed it. It is the point of tangency. Okay, and a point of tangency is where that tangent line crosses the circle. So here I put a little smiley face there. Okay, that is the point of tangency. Okay, again, our tangent line is going, going, going. Right there, point of tangency. Easy to remember. Okay, so if you think about it so far, we've had a chord, right? That was a segment. Okay, then we had diameter, which is the biggest chord, so also a segment. We've had a tangent line that touches at 1 point, unlike a chord touches at 2 points. Then we have a secant line. Now a secant line crosses the circle at 2 points. So it is a line, it continues like a tangent line. A secant is very, very similar to a chord, but a secant keeps going because it's a line. Okay? So the chord stops at the edge of the circle and the secant continues on because it's a line. Chord, segment, secant, line. Okay, again, if I'm going too quickly for you, please make sure you're pausing the video. Next, congruent circles. Okay, congruent circles are 2 or more circles that have the exact same radius. Okay, so in my picture here, I have 2 radii that have 6 centimeters, so these 2 would be congruent. Okay, that's the only dimension that we need to know in order to tell if these 2 circles are congruent to each other. Unlike triangles and other shapes, we need more things like angles and sides and all of that. Okay, for a circle, we just need to know that the radius is the same and they're congruent. Concentric circles. Concentric circles share the same center. Okay, think about a donut. Okay, right? The donut has a hole in the middle. Okay, and then it has the outer edge. Okay, they share that same center. I'm going to show you kind of like a crazy picture. Okay, you don't have to draw this exact one if you don't want to. If you want, you can draw a donut. Okay, they share the same center. Maybe draw some sprinkles on it, right? Are you hungry yet? Okay, so 2 or more circles that share the same center. An arc. Okay, so an arc, 2 points on the circle and the continuous part of the circle between those 2 points. Okay, so 2 points on the circle, so points A and B, and the continuous part between those 2 points. So this is an arc. Probably shouldn't have used red because that is red. Okay, so this is an arc here, okay, between A and B. Now arcs can be very complicated. Okay, we're going to talk about labeling and things like that coming up here in a minute. Endpoints, okay, just like how we have endpoints of a segment, okay, endpoints of an arc, okay, would be like the A and B in the last one, or A and B in this picture. Okay, A and B are the endpoints of the green arc pictured. Or you could even use the black arc too. They would be the endpoints of the black arc as well. All right, semicircles. Semicircles are the arc of the circle that the endpoints are the endpoints of the diameter as well. Okay, so a lot of people think of a semicircle being a shape, okay, but we're talking about the arc involved. Okay, so here in our picture, semicircle, okay, this would be the arc we're talking about. okay, between A and B. Now, we always label semicircles with 3 letters. Okay, so I'm just going to add a letter in here just for the sake, because it didn't have one in there. So if I wanted to label this arc, just like how we labeled like parallel lines, perpendiculars, how we label angles, sometimes you might have to write them down. Okay, we would say A, C, B, and put an arc above it, like that. Okay, notice that I go in the exact order I want. I could also call it arc B, C, A if I wanted to. Okay, but as long as I'm going in that order and I'm not going A, B, C, okay, because that wouldn't work. Okay, you follow along the circle, or along the arc, I should say. Now, I want to show you why we label with 3 letters. Okay, let's say I have a circle here. I'll use the same endpoints A and B. That's my diameter. Okay, and I'll put C back up here. Okay, and I'll also put a letter D down here. Okay, now we label this with 3 letters instead of 2 because I could be talking about, if I just said AB, I could be talking about this arc up here, or I could be talking about the lower arc. Okay, so I have to distinguish if I'm talking about arc ACB or if I'm talking about arc ADB. Okay, so it's important that we use 3 letters for semicircles as well, okay, so that we know which one we're talking about. Minor arcs are less than 180 degrees, so they're the small ones that are less than the semicircle. So for example here we have arc AB. Now, minor arcs only have to be labeled with 2 letters. Okay, so as you're drawing this picture, also write down AB like this. Okay, or you could label it BA. Okay, that's fine. Okay, but you only need to put 2 letters down for minor arcs, because we're going to assume we're talking about the small one. Okay, if we were talking about, you're going to notice here in this major arcs we're going to have to label with 3. So that's going to be our tell, major versus minor. Major arcs, okay, are arcs that are larger than 180 degrees. Okay, this is labeled with 3 letters. Okay, and we do that to distinguish between the minor and major arcs. Okay, so I have this picture here. Okay, the minor arc, if we're talking about the minor arc between A and C, I would just say AC, like that. If I want to talk about this arc going this direction, I have to label it with 3 letters. So I would label it A, B, C. Okay, so this one was a minor, this one was major. Next, we have a central angle. A central angle is an angle measure that's vertex is at the center of the circle, and then the endpoints are at the outer edge of the circle. So for example here, central angle AOB. Okay, we're talking this angle here. So if I wanted to label that angle AOB, just like that. Last, we're talking angle measure. Angle measure is the measure of the arc measure, I'm sorry. Arc measure is the measure of the central angle. So if I know that the central angle is 70 degrees, then I know the arc is also 70 degrees. So if this central angle is 70, the arc is 70 degrees. Okay, they share that same measure. Okay, so the arc measure is equal to the central angle measure, and vice versa. So if you know it, the arc measure, you know the central angle as well. I know this was a lot. Please pause the video, go back through it, ask questions.